Hey guys, welcome back to the Built on Boxes YouTube channel. My name is James White. I am the trucking lawyer. Today I want to talk to you guys about 5 things that you need to know before you file an application for your motor carrier authority. It's 5 overarching topics that you need to be familiar with before you sit down and file your application with the FMCSA for your motor carrier authority. So I'm in about 10 to maybe 15 different transportation-oriented Facebook groups. Those groups range in membership from, say, 8,000 to 20,000 people. I'm sure there's some overlap there, but suffice it to say there's probably between 25 and 35,000 people that are having these discussions on a daily basis. A lot of what I see is the same sort of questions being asked, and those questions make it obvious that there are some deficiencies as it relates to preliminary knowledge that a person should have when they decide to enter this space. So I think part of the problem is there's a lot of people out on YouTube and a lot of people out on the internet that are sort of perpetuating this cycle of the uninformed person jumping into the box truck game because they're telling them they can make $10, $20, $30,000 a month just by going out and buying a 26-foot box truck. That might be true. It might be true that there are people out there that can create a fleet of 5 to 10 trucks and make $500,000 a year. It might be true. That doesn't mean that that is possible for everybody. It also doesn't mean that someone who has no experience running a business or has no experience in transportation can just jump straight into this and immediately expect to be successful. So there are things that you need to understand up front before you jump in. This is the hard truth, guys. This isn't for everybody. It really isn't. That being said, I want to let you know that anything I say is not considered legal advice. I am an attorney. I'm an attorney in Tennessee, but I'm not trying to build a lawyer-client relationship, and I'm not trying to give legal advice. This is more of a business coaching type talk and not intended to be legal advice. So I've got a list of 5 things that I think are super important for you to know before you file for your motor carrier authority. And let's go with number 1. Number 1, the federal regulation 365.115 says that after publication in the FMCSA register, interested persons have 10 days from the date of the register publication to file protests. So what does that mean? That means that there's an automatic waiting period from the time that you file for your motor carrier authority until the time that it can be approved. Now, I learned this the hard way, and I'm just going to apologize to Christy Oliver. If you're listening or if you ever see this video, know that I publicly acknowledge that you were right and I was wrong. I was under the impression this federal waiting period was 21 days. The reason is because it generally takes about 21 days for that to happen, and I got into a discussion with this lady on Facebook who actually knew more about it than me, and I tried to flex on her and I was wrong. So Christy, again, I apologize. You humbled me, and I was wrong and you were right. She got her authority in 14 days instead of the 23 that it took me because people wait to pay their insurance. But I'll go into that a little bit more in detail. The federal government, the FMCSA, takes your application, publishes it in the Federal Register the next business day, and then allows for a 10-day protest period for the public to protest your ability to become a motor carrier with operating authority interstate. That has to happen. That's the first thing you need to know. Number 2, from the second that you click the submit button on your application with the FMCSA, you will start getting phone calls to whatever number you designate in that application. Your email and your phone are going to see more spam and predatory calls from compliance companies than you've ever dealt with in your life just fielding calls for your auto warranty. I promise you. And I mean, it's within seconds. From the second that you put that application in, you will start receiving phone calls. This is so important that you understand this. There is not a single thing that those companies will offer you that you have to take. No matter how strongly worded their email is, no matter how much they try to say, oh, you need to do this, you're in danger of not being in compliance, your motor carrier authority hasn't activated yet. All they're trying to do is take people who haven't done any research and who don't have a knowledge base and scare them into taking services and paying hundreds of dollars for things that they don't need. There is no reason to pay somebody to do an FMCSA application. You do not, I repeat, do not need a compliance company to do this. When your application is filed with the FMCSA, they generate a letter the next business day. In that letter, it says, these are the things that you have to do, and you have 20 days in order to comply with this letter, and then your authority will go active. It literally sends you a list. So these predatory DOT compliance companies, they want to get to you before you get this letter, because for whatever reason, even though the FMCSA does everything electronically, from the insurance filing to the BOC3 filing to the actual application, all of it's electronic except for the way that they communicate with you. I don't know why. It just is what it is, but that's the truth. You do not need a compliance company to do a single thing for you. Number 3, you need to be able to define the following term. It really makes you look like you're not in a place where you need to be filing for a motor carrier authority if you're asking what these things are or you don't exhibit a good understanding of what these things mean, okay? Your DOT, it stands for Department of Transportation number, but it is in a case where you're driving a vehicle over 10,000 pounds, but you're not leaving the state. You're just using that vehicle for commercial purposes inside the same state. An MC number that is what people are talking about when they say your motor carrier authority. You're gonna have a DOT number and you're gonna have an MC number. If you start off planning to run between states, you're gonna get the DOT number and the MC number all at the same time the second that you file your motor carrier application with the FMCSA. So the MC number, it'll start with a 1, and the DOT number right now starts with a 3. BOC3. I couldn't tell you what the acronym stands for, but a BOC3 is nothing more than a one-time electronic filing that has to happen. That just designates the person that will act as your agent for the purposes of accepting process or getting papers served on them for a lawsuit in each state. It costs $25 one time. That's what a BOC3 is. The UCR stands for Unified Carrier Registration. That's something you have to do once a year to let the federal government know how many vehicles you have. I did mine early in the process. It's only like $62 if you have like 1 to 3 trucks. I'm not really sure exactly, but it's not very expensive. When you do that annually, you have to have a medical card. If you're going to drive a commercial vehicle over 10,000 pounds, you have to have a DOT physical. Even if you don't have a CDL, you still have to have a DOT physical. Those are about $79 to $99 depending on where you go. The FMCSA actually has a list of their providers on the website. I'll put that in the description as well. So the first thing you need to know is there's a 10-day protest, period. The second thing you need to know is that the predatory compliance companies are not people that you need to help you. Ignore their calls and don't buy their services. Number 3, you need to know the definitions of the words that I just explained. Number 4, you need to know that commercial insurance is very expensive. It is not the same cost as your car insurance. I have a friend of mine who has an insurance agency, and I'll link to his YouTube channel. It's really super informative. We were talking the other day, and he was telling me you wouldn't believe the number of people who apply for their motor carrier authority, and it never goes active because they don't realize how much it costs to have a commercial insurance. You have to understand this. In order for your motor carrier authority to go active, you must have commercial insurance on file. At least $750,000 worth of liability insurance on file. For me, I have a good driving record. I have no accidents or tickets in the last 5 years, and I'm 41 years old. There aren't very many insurance companies that will insure a new venture for commercial freight. So I'm in Tennessee. The best rate I got was from Progressive, and it was $14,000 for the year, $2,300 down, and $1,100 a month for 12 months. Now, whether or not you have a 12-month premium or a 9-month premium is based on your credit. If your credit's fair or below, you might have a 9-month premium instead of 12. I was lucky and got 12, but $2,300 down and $1,100 a month for commercial insurance. Now, I see a lot of people asking this question. Can I just get my authority active and then not have a truck? Yeah, you can. But the second that the federal government finds out that your insurance lapsed, 1, it looks really bad for brokers that you might want to work with in the future. But 2, your motor carrier authority will be revoked. You can't have a motor carrier authority active and not have commercial insurance. So if you rewind to what I just said a few minutes ago, that means you're going to be paying $2,300 down and $1,100 a month to have insurance for a vehicle that you don't have, and you're not going to be running a vehicle to make the money back. So yes, you can not have a vehicle, but I don't know how you're going to make your money back unless you're going to make it with dispatching, but you don't need a motor carrier authority to do dispatch. There's really no reason to have a motor carrier authority if you're not a freight broker and not have a truck. There's just no reason for it. It's too expensive. It's going to cost you $15,000 a year overhead just to have that status. The other thing is, if you add a driver, if you add a vehicle, all this stuff impacts your commercial insurance quote. You need to consider that before you do it. You don't want to hire a driver off the street without having a copy of their MVR and running that by your insurance company to make sure you are going to be able to afford that person. Maybe that person has a DUI 5 years ago they didn't tell you about, and now your insurance rate just become so high that you can't afford to run a box truck and have that person on your insurance policy. With me, I have a 21-year-old son. Now he has a Class A CDL, but my insurance rate went from $14,000 a year to $24,000 a year just by adding my 21-year-old son who has no tickets and no accident and a Class A CDL to the policy. So when I'm looking at my numbers and I'm trying to figure out how much money I need per mile to be profitable, I need a lot more money on a truck that he's going to drive in order to be profitable than I do on mine. Those are things that you have to consider. And number 5, this is the last thing that you need to know. You're on the clock. The second that you file the motor carrier authority application, you are on the clock. Even if you're going to rent a vehicle or lease a vehicle, vehicle and you're not even going to buy one, you must be able to sit on a $2,500 to $5,000 capital investment for 6 to 8 weeks. Because of everybody trying to jump into this game at one time, I've been trying to get a truck for a week and a half, and there aren't any trucks right now. So this is something you need to know up front, guys. You need to be learning these things. There shouldn't be any of this stuff that catches you off guard at this point in the game, okay? But you're on the clock. From the second you put that application in, you've got 20 days to get in compliance and do all those things that they tell you to do in the letter. Once you get in compliance and your authority goes active, that's the first opportunity that you have to make money. If you're going to sign up with Amazon, you need to understand that for the first 2 or 3 weeks that you're running for Amazon, you're not going to see any good loads on the load board because you're not going to have a performance score. That's something I'll cover in a different video, but you're not going to be able to just jump on Amazon and get prime loads the first day that your authority's active. And you are on the clock. If you don't get a truck and you're sitting on that money, it costs me $300 to file an LLC in Tennessee. It costs me $300 to file the FMCSA application. It cost me $2,300 for insurance down. So that's $2,900 right off the bat. That doesn't count my UCR, my BOC3. It doesn't count my DOT physical. It doesn't count having like the equipment, the pallet jack. It doesn't count any of that stuff. It doesn't count the first week's rental fee. It doesn't count any of that stuff. So you have to be able to shell out $3,500 at a minimum and understand that the situation might unfold in such a way that you can't make your money back for 4 or 6 weeks. So if you think all I've got is $2,500 and I'm going to jump in this game, you're not going to do it. It doesn't work that way. This is a longer game. This is like a medium range game. This is not a quick buck type game. Now, once you're rolling, that's fine. You might make $20,000 your first month after getting started and you might be fine. But don't spend money that you can't afford to spend expecting to make it back in the first 30 days. That's all I have for you guys. Those are the 5 things that you need to know about this business before you file an application to be an FMCSA motor carrier with interstate authority. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Please let me know if there's a topic that you want addressed in the comments. I'm excited to have you guys on board. It's a tough thing that you're doing, but you're going to get through it. If you're smart and you do your research and you run a business in a smart way, you're going to be fine. If you don't do those things, you're going to struggle. So, but it's important that people tell you the truth up front, and that's what I'm here to do. So let me know if there's anything I can help you with. Have a great day.